wife had her second affair with one of my friends during COVID. Feeling alone. This is long, so buckle in. I've been lingering around this group for most of the year, and I can't believe I'm actually writing this, but here we are. I found out a few weeks ago that my wife had her second affair. A bit of backstory. We've always had what I thought was a happy marriage. We always clicked emotionally and physically. I do have an atypical work schedule, where I travel a lot, but that never seemed to be an issue. We were married in 2008 after meeting in 2006. In 2013, seemingly out of the blue, she came to me and told me that she had had a drunken one-night stand with my best friend and best man of my wedding while we were engaged. She said that she had gotten drunk and that he had taken advantage of that while I was on one of my work trips. As this was several years before, I forgave her and tried to move on. But some things weren't adding up. I would get bits and pieces of more information. We went to counseling, and the therapist said that the details didn't matter, this is important later. She told me that nobody else knew about it, so we tried to move on. In June of that same year, I met up with her best friend and maid of honor while I was on a work trip. She accidentally let it slip that she had known about the affair. When I pressed my wife on it, the whole thing unraveled. As it turns out, this wasn't a drunken one-night stand. It was a 6+ month long affair with them meeting up and having sex numerous times while I was away on business. Bear in mind, this was with one of my lifelong friends. I was crushed, having lost a friend and potentially a wife all at once. I knew all along that something wasn't right, that the details didn't add up, but ignored it. This gave me a huge distrust of therapists in general. She went above and beyond to mend things. I thought about leaving, but as she was pregnant with our third child at the time, I decided to swallow my pride and try to work through things. Things did get better, but I found myself emotionally shut down at times to try and numb the pain of it all. This is also important. In 2105, my mother passed away, and I found myself shutting down even more. Fast forward to this year. In March, all my work travel abruptly stopped and I started working from home exclusively. This was a big departure from being on the road 200+ days per year. We had to learn how to live with each other, and it was tough. At the beginning of April, she came to me and said she was unhappy. I realized that I really did need to make some big changes in my life if we were going to make it through this as a couple. I started making those changes, but to me, they went largely unnoticed. She started checking out of the marriage. I started noticing some atypical behavior from her around that time as well. Constantly on her phone and hiding it from me, passwords changed, more concerned with her appearance. I made note of all this, but wasn't overly concerned as we were in a lockdown situation due to COVID. In early May, things started to get bad between us, and I started looking for some answers. I started reading her journal, where she seemed to be talking in code. She mentioned a pain in the ass and how he loved her, and how she felt so invigorated by that. She had referred to one of my friends that lived nearly across the country as that in the past, but they had never met, although did chat occasionally on Messenger. The more I dug, the more I was convinced that she was having an emotional affair. I confronted her on multiple occasions. The first time, she denied it. The second, she said she was reconnecting with an old friend. The third time she said that someone from one of her parenting groups online had messaged her, and that's who she had been messaging with. All this time, I never told her that I had read her journals or was looking into who she was talking to. I told her it needed to stop, and she agreed. We also started therapy again around this time. The details started to not add up. At one point, I messaged my friend, and he assured me nothing was going on, but gave incredibly evasive answers. By this time I knew something was going on, but I had no real proof. Time and time again, I confronted my wife, asking her to just come clean so we could move past this, and she would bawl her eyes out because I didn't trust her, so I'd cave in and push those feelings down again. But over time, they just keep creeping back up. In early August, she said she needed some time apart to work on our marriage, that our daily talks were just dragging her down too much. I needed to work from the house, so she offered to stay in our camper. So I booked her a nice campsite for 2 weeks, and off she went. I voiced my concerns, but she assured me over and over that this was just temporary, and that she'd be back and everything would be great. There were 2 days during this time that she was going to visit her aunt, so I had the kids. I texted her that night so the kids could say goodnight, but she didn't respond. Called, and no answer. The next day, she came over, and was extremely affectionate. We had sex, and she was kind of wild. I couldn't explain it, but didn't look a gift horse in the mouth as our sex life had been lacking for months. This continued for another week or 2. Around this same time, she came to me and said she was pregnant, and that this was all a result of the pregnancy hormones. Then it happened. On the 11th of September, I got a message from my friend's wife with screenshots of explicit talk between my wife and him. And that explicit talk was about him ducking her, again. You see, not only had they been having an emotional affair for 5+ months, but in the midst of a global pandemic, and while she was supposed to be taking time to work on our marriage, she flew halfway across the country to meet him. They had never even met before, and have sex in a motel room, then fly back the next day. Everything for the past 6 months has been a lie. She has manipulated me, lied to me, and put all the blame for our relationship troubles at my feet, while having an affair behind my back. The kicker? She was never pregnant. She was just horny from seeing him. She just used pregnancy as an excuse. She blamed me being emotionally closed off, but her affair with my best friend is what made me that way too. Begin with. We've tried working on things the past few weeks, but it's been tough. This weekend has especially been tough. Today is our 12-year anniversary, and I'm on the road for a month-long trip, my first since March. I offered to fly her to where I am for the weekend, but I was met with resistance, and she didn't really want to go through the trouble of finding someone to watch the kids and dog. Which is an extra special kick in the gut, considering she was willing to fly across the country to have sex with someone she had never met. I still think she's hiding things. Trying to get information from her about what exactly happened has been like pulling teeth. She told me she doesn't want to go into detail, but I told her that the details do matter this time. I don't know where to go from here. I've lost another friend, someone who I confided in quite regularly, then had all that used against me. She doesn't want me telling our friends, who have been my rock through all this, because she doesn't want to lose the friendship of their wives. I can't talk to our therapist, because she has taken over the appointments to work on some of her issues. And he's totally booked up other than our single time slot each week. I feel very alone right now. I guess that's why I'm here. I've lurked for several months, just trying to figure out if I was going crazy or not, and unfortunately, I wasn't. Where do I go from here? As I look back at my Facebook memories that pop up today, we've had so many good times together. Many smiles, laughs, adventures. We have 3 kids, a great house and property. Do I throw all that away? Can I ever trust her again? I just don't know. I don't know if I need advice, or just a vent, but in either case, thanks for listening. To long. Didn't read wife had her second affair during COVID lockdown, all the while gaslighting me and making me feel like I was crazy for even considering it. Feeling alone and don't know where to go from here. She wants you not to tell friends. She doesn't want to lose their friendship. But you need support, so you need to tell them. Not your job to see that she gets everything she wants. Time for you to get what you want and need. Time to tell everybody. She will undoubtedly hold that against you and withdraw. Best thing that could happen to you, honestly. Way past time to say this relationship is not working for you. She is abusing and traumatizing you without a care. Not being forthright with you. At the risk of stating the obvious, this isn't her second affair by a very, very wide margin. She's been cheating on you constantly while you've been traveling for business. Now that you're not traveling, it cramped her style and she's unhappy she can't continue cheating in secret. So she wants time apart so she can resume cheating some more. This will continue for as long as you permit it. You either make it impossible or it continues. At this point I don't know what there is to salvage. She's not reformed and has shown no signs of stopping. You're just a free source of accommodation and money. I'm sorry to say that's evidently all you mean to her. And now you've become a nuisance because you're around too much. It's time to look at her and see her as she is, instead of the fantasy you're clinging onto. The type of person she really is defined by her actions.